Last year, I met a guy at a dinner party in London. Smart, funny, mid-30s, good job. And at some point in the conversation, someone asked him, "Did you see that thing on Instagram?" He just smiled and said, "I'm not on Instagram." The whole table went quiet, like he'd said something in a foreign language. Someone actually said, "Are you okay?" And that moment stuck with me. Because think about it. We now live in a world where not being on social media is the strange thing, the thing that needs explaining, the thing people worry about. So I started digging, and what psychology says about people like him, it genuinely surprised me. There's this assumption we carry around without even realizing it, that someone who avoids social media must be lonely or bitter, or one of those people who lectures everyone about screen time at Christmas dinner. But that's not what the data shows, and honestly, it's not what you find when you actually talk to these people. Oxford researchers followed people who quit social media for just 2 weeks. No dramatic life overhaul, just 2 weeks offline. And the results were striking. Better focus, lower anxiety, a genuine improvement in how they felt about their own lives. These weren't monks, these were regular people. Nurses, graphic designers, university students, people who had used social media for years, walked away, and discovered something they weren't expecting. That they were fine. Actually, more than fine. Psychologists describe this as a simple ability, the ability to look at something everyone around you is doing, realize it's not working for you, and stop, without guilt, without needing permission. Most of us struggle with that. These people have quietly mastered it. Here's where it gets interesting. They know who they are without an audience. Think about how much of our self-image is now tied up in how we present ourselves online. The photo you agonized over before posting, the caption you rewrote 4 times, the way you felt when it got 200 likes versus the way you felt when it got 12. That feedback loop is powerful, and it's subtle. Over time, your brain starts to genuinely need that external confirmation to feel settled. People who've never been in that loop or who've broken out of it, they develop something different, a sense of self that doesn't need the audience to exist. They know what they think, what they value, what they want, not because they've figured out the perfect personal brand, but because they've had years of having to answer those questions for themselves in silence. They also have a completely different relationship with time. 6 hours. That's the average daily screen time in the UK and US. 6 hours that go somewhere, into reels, into comment sections, into watching someone else's holiday you'll never take. People outside that world describe the absence of it almost physically, like a weight they didn't know they were carrying. Suddenly there's space in the day, not just time, but mental space, room for thoughts to actually finish themselves, room for boredom, which is actually where most good ideas live. And then there's the emotional side, which nobody really talks about. Social media at its core is a place to perform your emotions rather than feel them. You don't grieve, you post about grieving. You don't celebrate, you announce. Everything gets filtered through the question, how does this look from the outside? People who live without that filter are forced into something harder and more honest. They feel things without an audience. They work through pain without crafting it into content. They sit with themselves in the uncomfortable, unposted moments of life. That's not easy, but over time, it makes you harder to break. Now, I'm not going to sit here and romanticize this. Because there are real things you miss. You're the last to know things. You catch cultural references weeks late through a friend who finally explains it to you in person. There's a particular kind of loneliness in a group conversation built entirely around things that happened online, and you have no thread to pull. Some people who opt out also carry a quiet pride about it, a slight superiority. And honestly, that's just trading one performance for another. The choice to leave isn't automatically noble. The reasons matter. But here's what struck me most when I looked at all of this. The people who struggle most after quitting aren't the ones who miss connection. They're the ones who realize slowly that they'd been using the scroll to avoid something, and now they have to face it. That's the uncomfortable mirror this all holds up. The people who don't use social media aren't living better lives by default. Some of them are deeply lonely. Some are missing out on real connection. Some made the choice for the wrong reasons. But the ones who made it consciously, the ones who looked at the whole system, understood what it was designed to do, and decided it wasn't for them, those people are doing something genuinely rare. They're choosing to live in a way that doesn't need to be witnessed to feel real. And I think that's what makes the rest of us quietly uncomfortable when we meet them. Not because they're strange, because somewhere underneath all the scrolling, part of us wonders if they figured something out that we haven't.